Gamers all around the world today, we're making the Ayyubids Gamba guide. We're gonna gamble in Age of Empires 4. Ayyubids, I gotta say, this is the hardest civilization to make guides for because there's so many options, there's so many things you can do. There's so many wing options you can go, there's so many unit styles you can go for that it's hard to say like, oh yeah, this is the best feudal guide. So instead of making like the best feudal all-in guide or 2TC or whatever, I wanted to make something that is the most fun by far right now, and I think it's actually pretty good as well. So let me show you the Ayyubid Gamba guide. So what is the Ayyubid Gamba? The Ayyubid Gamba is, out of the 8 new wings that you go for Ayyubids, you go the one that is called Bazaar, that gives you random units that you can spawn for gold. Why is it gambling? Well, because you don't know which one you're going to get. You don't know if you're going to get units, villagers, traders, buying resources or whatever else. So you do have to adjust in the moment. So if you're looking for Ayyubids guide that's like 5 on wood, 10 on stone, make a TC, make a unit, make this, make that, and then push, this is not it. Okay? This is not it. This one you need to be able to adjust a little bit. But I promise you, it is wild as hell, and you're going to have fun playing it 100%. So, first thing you want to do is send your all your villagers to the berries. You're going to have 7 on berries, and then you're going to rally onto the gold. Obviously, you're going to build House of Wisdom. You will try to connect 6 for the Golden Age 1, which is gather rate for all your villagers. Now, you will not be putting only 4 on gold. You're actually going to put 8 on gold. I know it sounds like a lot, but you're going to rally your villagers onto the gold until you have 8. Okay? So, I'm going to explain a little bit why that is. So, 7 on food, 8 on gold, and then we're going to be aging up with the Trade Wing Bazaar. Now, Ayyubids has a lot of styles, like I said. You have eco styles, you have opening military wing style, you have fast age up, you have dervishes to heal, you have the Atabek, which increases health from your production buildings, all the units that come out. So there's billion different styles. And I generally don't think, so Abbasid was kind of like, okay, even Abbasid, you didn't go 1 wing every time. Even with Abbasid, you would do wing situation. Like against this civ, you go military wing. Sometimes you go trade wing. Sometimes you go culture wing. Ayyubids, I feel like, is even more complex than that because there's 8 options. So obviously, there's a lot more to it. And sometimes you got to choose the wing based on what's happening. But I'm going to give you a guide. I try to make it as clean as possible so you know what you're doing and what to go for. So we got 6 on gold right now, you can see in the bottom left. We're going to go for 8. And once we start aging up with Trade Wing Bazaar, we're going to leave 4 on food and we're going to put 3 on wood. Why do we want 3 on wood? Well, we want to get wheelbarrow, we want to be able to build houses, we want to be able to get Golden Age Tier 1, and we want to be able to get a tower potentially. So, we got 8 on gold now, and this might seem like a lot. This might seem like, oh my god, it's like I have too much gold already. It is not, trust me. You're gonna need more gold than that. So now, once we have 8 on gold, we're gonna rally 2 more villagers. You can also go for 6 on wood, by the way. I would probably suggest you that. 5 or 6 is fine. 6 is a bit more comfortable, a little bit less steering, I would say, regarding the wood income. So go for you pull 3 from food to wood, and then add 3 more from the TC. We're getting wheelbarrow as well. Very important upgrade. Love wheelbarrow. And you want to be using as many villagers on berries as possible so that you get all the berries before the enemy attacks, so that you could actually go sheep after. Now, one thing I made a mistake here is right now you're supposed to build a house and then the lumber camp with the last 50 wood, okay? So what ended up happening is my house is going to be a bit late, so the units are not going to pop out instantly. But yeah, just build a house and then a lumber camp. Now, this is the gambling part, and this is how this build works. So, The Bazaar Wing has a chance to give you basically have 4 traders right here. So, and you have 5 options. So you cannot take all 5 options, you can only take 4. So that's very important. And you get them randomly. You could potentially get 4 food, or you can get 5 traders, or you can get 2 villagers and 1 skirmisher. Like here, you can get stone and whatever else. So this is why this is a gambling build, because sometimes your rolls are really good, where it's like borderline broken. Sometimes you get rolls, and most of the time you get average to good. And every 3 minutes you get new caravan coming in. You can see right here there's a cooldown that you can see, 180 seconds until the 4 traders return, and you get 5 new options. So why did I say that this build is kind of like you have to adjust in the moment? Well, you never know what you're going to get. You never know if you're going to get villagers, traders, units. The idea behind it is you make the most use out of it, okay? That is kind of the point of the build. Now, the one that I'm going to show you will be rushing for castle, actually, with this age up, Culture Wing Advancement. It costs only 850 food, 450 gold, and it takes 40% less time to research, which is like 40-45 seconds. So the build that I'm going to show you is Culture Wing Advancement, but there's a lot of ways to play this build. So for example, what I could do now, I have double stone right here, which is 300 stone. So what I could do is I could grab these villagers, mine 50 stone, buy 300 stone, and then get a little bit of extra wood and go second TC, right? You can do stuff like that. If you get, you know, wood, you could purchase wood maybe once or twice and then not have to go on the wood right now with as many villagers. You can only leave 3 instead of 5 because you purchase some wood. Or if you're getting units, you need to make the use out of them. So the first thing you always want to buy, no matter what, is villagers. So right now, you can see the way that build works with 8 villagers on gold. I have wheelbarrow, and I can purchase 3 things immediately, and 4th one shortly after. So right now, what I would want to buy is 2 villagers, or 2 times villagers, which is actually 4 villagers. You get 4 villagers instantly, which is a crazy eco boost right there. So this is a pretty good roll, and I can make the skirmishers. Now, whenever you get units, you can use them in 2 ways. You can either defend against them, if you're playing against a super aggressive, or if you're playing against, like, let's say Ayyubids, who is going eco wing, I would just summon skirmishers and just send them across the map immediately, right? Like, if I played against China, if I played against any civ that's passive, I would just spawn the units immediately and send them across the map and harass. This is really strong because I don't need to make any production buildings for this, right? I don't need to make any production buildings. So, let's say I'm playing against whatever civ, doesn't matter. If I make skirmishers, these guys do bonus damage against infantry, okay? So, basically, you cannot make archers against these guys. They're gonna kill the archers really easily. I think they do like 14 damage a shot. So the enemy needs to make horsemen. So you pay 125 gold for 2 units, no production buildings. The enemy needs to make a stable, that is 150. Then they need to make at least 2 horsemen, which is 120 resources each, which is 240. So the enemy, in order to defend these 2 guys, needs to spend 390 resources, which is half a town center. It is incredibly strong. Incredibly strong. If you get swordsmen, what they do, you spawn 2 as well. There's no details, by the way. It just says exchange 125 gold for 2 Bedouin swordsmen. The swordsmen do bonus damage against melee units. This is the first time we have against melee units specifically. Not against infantry, not against spearmen, not against men-at-arms, melee, which includes cavalry. So these guys actually dent in the horsemen really bad, and they do okay against knights. Knights will kill them because they don't have brace, but they do pretty good damage against cavalry too, and they will destroy horsemen. So against these guys, the enemy will be making archers. But the whole point of it, even if you're playing against English, you're gonna make 2 swordsmen because it's insta units, and you can maybe push back the first 2 longbows or something. You know, you can do something with them always, and you should always try to do that. If there's absolutely nothing you can do, just purchase them anyway and use them defensively. So now what I'm going to do, as my house is a bit delayed like I mentioned because I'm a dent, what I'm going to do is purchase the double villager. You can see right here, they pop out pretty much instantaneously, right there, boom, boom, and I'm going to use them on food. And then I'm going to summon skirmishers. There you go, they do 7 damage plus 7 against light infantry. So not infantry, they do damage against light infantry, which is archer, spearman, lance connect, crossbow, and so on. So what do you do from here on out? Now, depending on which rolls you get, you need to adjust a little bit. My advice is, try to make the most out of your resource or out of your stuff that you got, and just try to adjust. It might seem a little bit confusing at first, but soon after you're gonna realize, once you know what your goal is, once you know you're going for it, you're gonna realize, okay, I need that, I need this, and so on. So sometimes you will need to readjust the villagers. So for example, if I got stone here, or sorry, wood here, I would just insta buy wood. Right? This is the adjustment that I would make to my current style. I would instantly buy wood as well. 200 wood. I would make a tower here. I would make 2 more houses. I would hit golden age. And I would send 5 villagers on stone to just get 50 stone and then upgrade my tower. Right? So that's option if I had wood. Right? I could just use that wood immediately for 2 houses, or, you know, a lumber camp and a house plus a tower. But I do suggest putting a tower on the gold, because your gold is very, very important and you need to protect it. If I get stone like this, again, if you get double stone or triple stone, you can go for a TC if you want to, but I would suggest stick to what I'm doing for now. So in this game, the 4th ticket that I used, or the 4th trader, I used to purchase stone, and I'm gonna make a tower here with it, and I'm gonna upgrade it. Now, if the opponent is playing like French or Jeanne d'Arc or something super aggro like English, I would even suggest make a tower here and make a tower here and upgrade them, because once you purchase stone, you get 150 stone. So you're gonna have enough to upgrade 2-3 towers. What you don't want to do with this build is get stuck in feudal for too long. So I don't want to be making production buildings right now and fighting in feudal. The whole point of the Gamba build that I'm showing you is to age up, right, as fast as possible, so that you have access to ghulams, which you're going to see in a little bit. So I'm sending all my villagers on berries. If there was night coming, I would get the berries for as long as I can, then I would send them back to the sheep. Now what you also want to do is you want to get the other eco upgrades, because if you skip eco upgrades, you're becoming very, very all in. So what I'm going to do is, by the way, this house could have been a tower, right? So a little bit faster tower. So I don't want to go completely all in, so I'm getting double broadaxe, and I'm going to get horticulture and mining camp in a little bit. But again, this is not always the same. Sometimes you gotta adjust, sometimes you gotta figure it out, but try in general to get eco upgrades, because you will want them. You don't want to go completely all in. And remember, you might think like, oh, but isn't this pretty bad because you're only on like 1 TC, so your economy is not as great. I just bought 4 villagers, right? I have 4 villagers, and if the guy goes for 2nd TC, he would have extra 4 villagers in like a minute from now, right? So I'm already ahead 4 villagers. Now, one thing to note is if you get traders, so what do you do with them? Do you trade or do you not? My advice is, if you do get traders and you're playing against an aggressive civ, maybe if you wanna, I mean, it is a Gamba build, you can, let's say my opponent is here, right? Maybe I'll spawn 2 traders and I'll send them to this market, and the opponent is gonna have to react to that, and then they're gonna have to have in their back of their mind, oh, there's traders, so I should check for that. If you're playing against a boom civ, I would probably say send your traders to the farthest market and even build a market on this side. If they're gonna play more passive, just get that value from the 2 traders. Once they do like 1 full trip, they pay off. So if you're playing against passive civ, the trade and the villagers is really, really strong. If you're playing against, actually, if you're playing against passive civ, the best roll you can get is like 2 villagers, 2 traders, and maybe, or 2 villagers, 2 traders, 1 unit, right? So you can pick, but I would probably suggest you to make, what's it called? 1 unit always against a passive civ, and then the eco stuff. If you're playing against an aggro civ, probably the best thing you can get is just villagers and then some of these units, or maybe like stones you can purchase for tower and so on and so forth. So from here on out, I'm going to hit Golden Age in a second when I build this tower in the house. And again, if you're playing against super aggressive, just add another tower. Just add another tower. Don't be shy. You would rather make a tower, and especially if you purchase stone, to be able to, you know, upgrade and protect it. Because by the time the opponent gets rams, you're going to be in castle already, because your castle is faster. So now, once the berries are done, we're gonna go with a bunch of villagers and food. You can see the worker split here, by the way. You kind of need to adjust your eco sometimes. Like I said, if you see you have too much food and not enough gold, just send a bit more to the gold. And one thing to note is, I almost forgot this. I actually made a mistake here in the guide. Always age up to castle after the second trade comes in. And this is why. So you want to be, make sure you get the second trade or traders that are coming in, use them, and then age up. The reason for that is, which I actually forgot while I was making this guide, if you age up, okay, we got the traders back, so you can see I got 2, 2, 1. So I can buy resources now just fine. So if I go click on wood, I will get wood immediately. But if you get any of the unit productions, they will be behind the age up. So the age up will have to complete, and then they're gonna come out. So my advice to you is only age up after the second gambling round comes. So you can purchase. So right now, if I did an age up, I would purchase 2 villagers and then age up, right? And then you can save these for later. So you want to buy the units immediately so you get that value. We got the tier 1. And now what I want to do is, the moment I start aging up, I put 5 more villagers on wood. Why? Because I want to start building production buildings, and I want to make sure I have enough production so I can actually fight. So even if the opponent is all in, look at this. I'm 8 minutes. I'm going to be in castle. I got like bonus, like, I don't know, 4, 6 villagers. I got eco upgrades. I'm going to make 2 barracks, then blacksmith, and then 1 or 2 more barracks after. Now, there's 2 ways to play this from the moment you hit castle, and I'm going to explain that in a second. Boom. So I hit castle right now. So there's 2 ways to play this. Again, I have stone right here. So I could purchase this, and I could get a little bit more stone, get a second TC. If the opponent went 2 TC and they're super far away from castle, like they're nowhere close, I would suggest you to just rally a lot of workers to food, go like 4 barracks Gulam with +1 ranged armor, and just all in, right? Just go for it. If the opponent is 1 TC, I would suggest you defend and then slowly push away the enemy and then go from there. So if the enemy was going Knight Archer, I would probably tell you, maybe, you know, get some Gulams, maybe make an archer range for a Desert Raider, or make crossbows. But if the opponent is playing passive, just make barracks, Gulams, and go across the map. I personally like, instead of making a second TC now, I personally prefer to get a mosque so I can get the relics. Getting relics with Ayyubids is really fast because they have dervishes, which are camels, so they're pretty fast. And right now, I think in this game, I purchased double wood. Because instead of waiting for these guys to chop wood, this is the adjustment part that I was talking about. So I think in a second or 2, I'm going to purchase all the wood. There we go. I got 600 wood, and look at that. 2 more barracks. I'm going to get +1 ranged armor. I'm getting a mosque. And this is the adjustment I was talking about. If I got double stone, I could have bought double stone and made a TC almost immediately, right? So you have to decide and adjust in the moment, which I think is really fun part of this build. Another fun part of this build is you don't have to play it perfectly, right? You have to have a general idea of what you want to do, which is to get to castle, but you don't have to play it perfectly. Play around with it, and it honestly is like a really fun build, because it feels like every game is different, even though you're going for the same wing and you're going for the same style, you're going for the same build order initially, but every game feels like a different game because you never know what you're going to get here, right? It's a little bit addicting. Kids, don't gamble. Now, I am getting +1 ranged armor for my Ghulams. If your opponent is feudal, you do not need +2 ranged armor unless you're playing against English. So what you want to do, or TCs, against TCs you do need +2 ranged armor, but right now we don't need to rush +2 ranged armor. So what I'm going to do is get Iron Undermash, and then I'm going to get Sultan's Mamluks. Mamluks? This upgrade is incredibly strong in general, but especially for a build like this. So read what it does. Infantry deals 25% damage and 20% movement speed for 10 seconds after killing a unit. Now, not all the units get it, just the unit that actually gets the killing blow. But what happens if you're doing this build, you have Ghulams that are kind of slow, and every time you kill a villager, they get damage buff, 25%, and speed boost, so they can actually catch up to the other villager. So once you start killing villagers or units in feudal, it just becomes like a massacre where they're getting buffed, they're running faster, and so on and so forth. Does it stack? No, it does not stack. It refreshes the buff. So I'm going to go Iron Mash and then Sultan's Mamluks, and then I'm going to go for +2 Iron Undermash and then Bloomery for damage. So the idea is now, while I'm putting the pressure with the Ghulams, I'm going to get all relics, preferably all 5 relics. And, you know, maybe next roll, again, you never know what you're going to get, but maybe next roll I get double stone. I purchase double stone, throw down a TC, and suddenly I've killed some workers, I bought some workers, I got all the relics, and I want the same amount of TCs as my opponent. And it is absolutely wild, and I've been having a lot of fun playing it, to the point where I just want to keep playing the same thing over and over. Now, if you do notice you're having too much gold or too much wood, just try to adjust your economy. Like right now, I don't have enough food, so I should have not put 15 on gold. I should have put 3, 4 less, maybe even 5 less. And this is something that you're not gonna do it perfect. I don't do it perfect, but you know, you're gonna figure it out the more you play. And every time the trade wing is returning, you want to make sure to have at least, I would say, 350, 375 gold, so you can purchase 3 immediately. Now, if you want the specific times, I can give you that as well. So, at 1020 is going to be your 3rd purchase. The first purchase is obviously going to be, or the first traders, whatever you want to call it, the first Gamba when you age up. The 3rd Gamba is at around 1020 because we're 10 seconds away. And then the 2nd one is at 720. Okay? 720, 730, right? So that you don't have to constantly click House of Wisdom and then, you know, mouse over here. You can just look at the time and kind of know when when it's coming. But it's very important to make the most use out of it. I've had games like against players that I had like food problems like this, and then I got 2 food, buy food, 125 gold for 200 food. I bought double, suddenly I had 400 food, and I could make Ghulams again. So don't think like, oh, it's a bad trade because I'm using gold for wood. You're basically getting more resources in the moment, even though, you know, buying food or gold is not what you normally want to do, but in this case you do, because you get a lot of value immediately. After that, like I said, I'm going for a double monastery. You can also go 1 monastery into a 2nd TC. You can start walling off your base. If you're playing against knights, you can maybe add some crossbows, but continue making Ghulams because they're pretty good. You can also add some spearmen. You can make, like I said, walls to make sure you don't take any damage. There's a bunch of different ways to play. I advise you to go out there and explore. It's a lot of fun. Just try it. Trust me, you're gonna love it. And this build is also very, very strong for team games, by the way. The only thing I would do for team games is maybe, just to guys give you a quick guide, I guess, for the team games as well. Ayyubids is very, very popular in team games because of this wing, and because of the Desert Raiders that are camels, reduce the enemy cavalry damage 20%, which cavalry is very good in team games, and they can swap between their melee and range form. So if you wanted to do this build in team games, I would suggest you build 1 or 2 archer ranges after you age up to feudal. make camel raiders, and then have a little bit of a delayed age up to castle. And you can even age up to castle with like a military wing or eco wing in team games, because you don't necessarily need to rush castle, because you're not going to go gulams, you're going to mass camel raiders. What army comp is strong with his civ? So in castle, in my opinion, the strongest army comp is probably similar to Ayyubids, which is gulam, crossbow, maybe spearman, a camel rider or two, or desert raider. Sorry, I keep calling it camel rider. Desert raider or two to debuff enemy cavalry if they have it. In Imperial, this upgrade right here works with hand cannoneers. So your hand cannoneers get 25% damage buff if they kill a unit. In Imperial, I would probably suggest you to make a mix of gulams and hand cannoneers if you have unlimited gold, and a bunch of desert raiders. Desert raiders with all the upgrades and infantry support, which infantry increase the armor of nearby camels by 2, so like Ayyubid but the opposite. Desert raiders in Imperial are surprisingly strong, which I found out earlier today. They have 12 melee armor. Yep, 12 melee armor and 5 ranged armor. So with all the upgrades. So they're very, very strong. So my advice, Imperial late game, your unit comp is going to be Gulam, hand cannoneers, and desert raiders. And obviously some siege if you need to. So basically if you're playing men-at-arms into the desert raiders, they do like no damage to them. So yeah. Anyway, that is going to be it for the Ayyubid Gamba wing. Now go out there and roll high. Don't get addicted. It is a lot of fun to use. I have my doubts about if this should be in the game or not, because it does feel a bit weird to have this kind of system in RTS, and I am especially looking forward to and steering and worried about tournament games. Like imagine a tournament final where a player rolls like 3 villagers and just spawn 6 villagers. I actually had a game, I'll tell you this, I actually had a game on hybrid map against Japanese where I went for fishing and then I went Gamba wing. The Japanese player went age up instantly into shinobis, and I aged up and I had 3 Bedouin swordsmen and 2 skirmishers, and I basically summoned 8 units immediately and I killed the Japanese player straight away. So that's kind of broken. So stuff like that will happen where the Ayyubids will get insane rolls, and sometimes it will happen that you get bad rolls. But if you do this build, there's no really bad rolls. Like I said, you can always adjust. Doesn't matter. If you get wood, if you get food, stone, you can always adjust if you're doing the build that I just showed you. YouTube gamers, I want to thank you so much for watching. Check me out on Twitch. I'm probably live right now. This is the 5th guide that I've done. I have done 6 videos of everything you need to know about Japanese, Ayyubids, Byzantines, and the other 3 civilizations. I have done guides for Jeanne d'Arc, Byzantines, Jushi's Legacy, and OOTD fast aggression builds. Now we have done Ayyubids, and the last one will be how to play Japanese in feudal fast aggression. And I already got a build in mind, and the build will surprise you. After that, week 2, 3 after, I don't know when, I am going to be making a second round of guides, which are going to be the more macro guides for each civ, like 2TC or maybe like some kind of castle rush into economy play. We'll see. That's it for now. Check me out on YouTube. Twitch gamers, let's keep going.